There is something powerful about beginning the day with honesty instead of performance. So often we wake up and immediately put on strength like a mask. We tell ourselves to push through, to shake it off, to pretend we are not tired, not overwhelmed, not carrying silent battles. But true spiritual growth does not begin with pretending. It begins with surrender. It begins with admitting, God, I don't feel strong today. Admitting weakness is not a sign of failure. It is an act of courage. It takes strength to confess that you are stretched thin. It takes maturity to say that the pressure is heavy. Many people believe faith means never acknowledging struggle, but real faith says, I am struggling, but I am still standing. Real faith says, I feel weak, but I am not walking away. When you come before God with your weakness, you are not informing him of something he doesn't already know. He sees the exhaustion in your body. He knows the thoughts that kept you awake last night. He understands the responsibilities pressing on your shoulders. The breakthrough is not in hiding your weakness, it is in bringing it into his presence. There is freedom in that moment. Freedom from pretending you have it all together. Freedom from carrying emotional weight alone. Freedom from the pressure of perfection. When you admit your weakness, you create space for divine strength to step in. You stop striving and start trusting. Weakness humbles the heart. It strips away pride and self-reliance. It reminds you that you were never meant to carry life by yourself. Sometimes God allows us to feel our limitations so we will remember our dependence. When everything is working smoothly, it is easy to rely on our own ability. But when strength runs low, we are reminded where our help truly comes from. Admitting weakness also deepens intimacy with God. You cannot have closeness without honesty. You cannot experience comfort if you refuse to admit you need it. When you say, Lord, I'm tired, you are opening the door for him to become your rest. When you say, Lord, I'm overwhelmed, you are inviting him to become your peace. When you say, Lord, I don't know what to do, you are positioning him to become your wisdom. Weakness does not disqualify you from purpose. It qualifies you for grace. It reminds you that the calling on your life is sustained by God's power, not your own stamina. The pressure you feel does not mean you are incapable. It means you are growing. Stretching is uncomfortable, but it expands capacity. So instead of condemning yourself for feeling weak, acknowledge it before God. Speak it in prayer. Lay it down at his feet. Let your vulnerability become your victory. Because when you admit your weakness, you are not surrendering to defeat. You are surrendering to strength greater than your own. Feelings are powerful, but they are not permanent. They shift with circumstances, with conversations, with memories, with moments. One day you wake up confident. The next day uncertainty creeps in without warning. 1 minute you feel hopeful. The next minute doubt whispers in your ear. If you build your life on feelings alone, you will live on unstable ground. That is why declaring God's faithfulness over your emotions is not just spiritual language, it is survival. There are mornings when your heart feels heavy for no clear reason. There are days when fear tries to convince you that what lies ahead is too much for you. There are seasons when disappointment clouds your perspective, and makes it difficult to see beyond the present struggle. Feelings will try to narrate your future based on your current frustration. But feelings are not prophets. They do not have the authority to define your destiny. God's character does not fluctuate the way emotions do. He does not wake up uncertain. He does not change his mind because your circumstances changed. He is consistent. He is steady. He is faithful. When everything around you feels unstable, his nature remains the same. That is why you must learn to declare what you know about him, even when you do not feel it. Declaring his faithfulness is an act of spiritual discipline. It means speaking truth when your emotions are loud. It means saying, I may feel abandoned, but God has not left me. It means declaring, I may feel inadequate, but God has equipped me. It means confessing, I may feel delayed, but God is still working. You are not denying your feelings. You are refusing to let them have the final word. There is power in what you speak over your life. Words shape perspective. When you repeatedly declare God's promises, your mind begins to align with truth instead of fear. Your heart begins to stabilize. Your spirit begins to rise. Faith grows not because everything feels good, but because you choose to stand on what is unchanging. Sometimes the gap between what you feel and what you believe feels wide, but that gap is where growth happens. When you choose to trust God's faithfulness in the middle of emotional turbulence, you strengthen your spiritual foundation. You train yourself to lean on truth instead of impulse. You develop endurance that cannot be shaken by every wave of doubt. Declaring God's faithfulness does not mean pretending the struggle isn't real. It means recognizing that the struggle is temporary, but his promises are eternal. It means understanding that emotions are indicators, not dictators. They may signal what is happening inside you, but they do not control what God is doing around you. So when feelings try to define your day, answer them with faith. When doubt speaks, let truth speak louder. When fear rises, remind your soul of who God has always been. He has been faithful before, and he will be faithful again. Your emotions may rise and fall, but his faithfulness stands firm. There is a mystery in weakness that the world does not understand. The world celebrates self-sufficiency, applauds independence, and rewards visible strength. It teaches you to hide your cracks, to polish your image, to make sure no one sees where you bend. But heaven operates by a different system. In God's economy, weakness is not something to conceal. It is something he can use. Strength perfected in weakness means that God does his best work in the places where you run out of ability. It is in the moment when you say, I can't do this on my own, that divine empowerment begins to flow. As long as you think you can handle everything yourself, you leave little room for God to intervene. But when your hands are empty, they are finally open. Weakness exposes your limitations, and limitations remind you that you are human. You were never designed to be your own source. You were never meant to carry every burden without help. When you feel stretched beyond your comfort, when your resources feel insufficient, when your strength feels depleted, that is not the end of the story. That is the setup for God's strength to become visible. Think about the areas where you feel most inadequate. The places where insecurity whispers that you are not enough. The assignments that feel bigger than your experience. Those are often the very spaces where God intends to reveal his power. If you were naturally strong in every area, you might take the credit. But when you know you are operating beyond your natural ability, you recognize that something greater is sustaining you. Weakness also produces humility, and humility attracts grace. When you admit you need help, you position yourself to receive it. Pride resists assistance, but humility invites partnership. God is not drawn to arrogance. He responds to surrender. When you stop trying to prove yourself and start trusting him, strength begins to rise from a deeper place. There is also transformation in weakness. Pressure reveals what is inside you. Trials refine character. Struggles stretch capacity. When you endure seasons where you feel fragile, you discover resilience you didn't know you possessed. You learn how to lean instead of strive. You learn how to pray instead of panic. You learn how to depend instead of dominate. Strength perfected in weakness does not mean the struggle disappears. It means you are sustained in it. It means peace shows up in chaos. It means clarity emerges in confusion. It means courage rises in fear. It means you continue moving forward even when you are aware of your limitations. Your weakness is not a disqualification. It is a platform. It is the stage upon which God's faithfulness performs. When others see you standing after everything you have faced, they will know it was not merely human strength. When you accomplish what once intimidated you, you will know it was not by your power alone. So do not despise your weak moments. Do not rush to hide them. In those fragile places, divine strength is being woven into your spirit. And what feels like a breaking point may actually be a breakthrough in disguise. There are seasons in life when heaven feels quiet. You pray, but the answer does not come the way you expected. You wait, but the door does not open on your timetable. You believe, but the situation does not immediately shift. In those moments, it is easy to assume that silence means absence, that delay means denial. But God's timing is not a reflection of neglect. It is often a demonstration of preparation. Trusting God in delays requires a different kind of faith, the kind that does not demand instant evidence. It is easy to celebrate when breakthroughs are visible. It is easy to testify when the miracle has already happened. But there is a deeper maturity that develops when you trust him before the results appear. Waiting stretches your faith beyond convenience. It refines your expectations. It teaches you endurance. Delay does not mean God has forgotten you. It may mean he is aligning circumstances you cannot see. There are conversations happening beyond your awareness. There are doors being arranged behind the scenes. There are lessons forming within you that you would not learn if everything happened instantly. If every prayer were answered immediately, patience would never grow. Character would never deepen. Dependence would never strengthen. Silence can feel unsettling because we crave reassurance. We want confirmation. We want movement. But God's silence is not emptiness. It is often incubation. Just because you cannot hear him does not mean he is not working. Seeds grow in silence. Foundations are built beneath the surface. The most critical development happens out of sight. When you face delay, Your mind will try to interpret it negatively. Doubt will whisper that you missed your moment. Fear will suggest that others are moving ahead while you are standing still. Comparison will tempt you to measure your progress against someone else's timeline, but your journey is not governed by someone else's clock. What is meant for you will arrive in its appointed time. Trusting in delay also protects you from premature blessings. Sometimes we ask for things we are not yet prepared to handle. If God gave you certain opportunities before your character matured, the very blessing you prayed for could become a burden. Timing is protection, timing is wisdom, timing is mercy. In silent seasons, you must anchor yourself in what you already know about God. Remember how He has provided before. Remember how He has guided you through uncertainty in the past. Let previous faithfulness become evidence for future hope. The same God who sustained you then is sustaining you now, even if you cannot trace His movements. Waiting is not wasted time when it is entrusted to God. It is a classroom. It is a refining fire. It is a proving ground for your faith. The delay may be uncomfortable, but it is not purposeless. The silence may be heavy, but it is not permanent. And when the answer finally arrives, you will realize that what felt like a pause was actually preparation for something greater than you imagined. There comes a moment in every difficult season when quitting feels easier than continuing. The weight becomes heavy. The progress feels slow. The opposition seems constant. Your energy dips, your enthusiasm fades, and your confidence wavers. In those moments, the temptation is not always dramatic. It is subtle. It whispers, maybe this is too much. Maybe you should step back. Maybe you should let it go. But resilience is built in the space between wanting to quit and choosing to stand. Refusing to quit does not mean you never feel tired. It means you do not allow temporary exhaustion to make permanent decisions. Feelings fluctuate, but destiny requires consistency. The dream you carry will not always feel exciting. The calling on your life will not always feel convenient. There will be days when perseverance feels like survival rather than victory. Yet it is in those days that character is forged. Difficult seasons reveal what you truly believe. When everything is going well, commitment is easy. But when results are delayed and challenges multiply, your foundation is tested. Are you anchored to comfort or are you anchored to purpose? If your motivation is only emotional, it will collapse under pressure. But if your motivation is conviction, it will endure storms. Resilience is not loud. It is not always visible to others. Sometimes it looks like waking up and trying again. Sometimes it looks like praying through tears. Sometimes it looks like taking one small step when you wish you could take 10. It is the quiet decision to keep showing up even when applause is absent and recognition is nowhere in sight. You must remind yourself that struggle is not proof of failure. Growth often feels uncomfortable. Stretching muscles ache before they strengthen. Refining gold requires fire. The tension you feel may not be a sign to retreat. It may be evidence that you are expanding. Every challenge you endure builds endurance. Every obstacle you overcome increases your capacity. Refusing to quit also requires guarding your mind. Negative thoughts will try to magnify setbacks. They will replay mistakes and exaggerate fears. If you allow those thoughts to dominate, discouragement will follow. But when you choose to rehearse truth instead of defeat, something shifts within you. Your spirit steadies, your focus sharpens, your resolve strengthens. There will be moments when you cannot see the outcome, when progress feels invisible, when effort seems unnoticed. In those moments, perseverance becomes an act of faith. You continue not because you have guarantees, but because you trust the one who called you forward. You keep walking not because the path is easy, but because stopping would betray the vision planted in your heart. Temporary weakness does not cancel eternal purpose. A hard season does not erase a divine promise. The urge to quit is real, but so is the grace to continue. And every time you choose not to give up, you are stepping into a deeper level of strength, one that is not based on emotion, but on unwavering commitment.